I think the big lesson here is that it's not a podcast about lean. I had no idea what was going to happen. We love lean, we love the idea of all the stuff you're doing, but how do we do it? Where do we start? It's been a big decision actually, and it's been an exciting journey.
So Ryan, this podcast has over 250,000 views. We've done over 30 episodes. It's reached 100 different countries around the world. We did the calculations before starting this. It's been listened to for over 4.5 years. Which is mad when you think about when you and I started this podcast up in your factory. I'm like, Ryan, I think you should really start a podcast. And you're like, no, I'm not sure. And now we've decided to stop it. That's going to break a lot of hearts. Why?
Yeah, there's a very clear reason for it. There's a couple of reasons. And it's been a big decision actually. And it's been an exciting journey. It really has. But 2 weeks ago, we launched my new book, which I have here, and I had no idea what was going to happen. It took me 2 years to write the book. I originally wrote it to hand, just to give to people after they came on a Lean Made Simple tour, because the most common question I got asked was, yeah, we love lean, we love the idea of all the stuff you're doing, but how do we do it? Where do we start? And I wanted something to say, there's the book. And now I've got the book. And no idea that it was going to go the way it has, where it's just selling everywhere. It's unbelievable. We can't print them fast enough. We've someone in the factory just like posting them out every 10 times a day.
I see there be notifications every single time one gets sold. And it's just like ding, 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 ding. I'm like, oh, they're going to be busy.
Yeah. So I've decided to take a break, to pause for a while, to really focus on launching the book. I had no idea this was going to happen. It's kind of a surprise, a nice surprise, that the book's going down so well. But I'm going to focus on that for a while. That's one of the reasons.
It's funny. There's a kind of common, well-known phrase in the author world where it's like there's two parts to writing a book. The first part is writing it, and then the second part is actually promoting it. And you don't realize, because you think, how did you feel whenever you put the final word on and you sent it away? You're probably like, oh, this is great. And at that point, it's like, well, you're now 50% of the way there.
That's so true, actually. And I had no idea, because I've never written a book before. I didn't know what the process was. And I thought when it was finished, that's my work done. But
yeah, well, it's like designing a great product.
Yeah.
Or if you're a musician, an album, you put all the effort into making something just perfect, amazing. And then it's like, well, that's only 50% of it, because kind of like we talked about in the last episode, it can be very tempting to just be like, okay, I'm finished. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. But because you believe in this book so much, because you've written it from a very selfless position, it's very selfish for you to just sit on this and not try to get it in the hands of, Ryans around the world who are struggling with their business, struggling with their factories, because you would have appreciated if someone had taken the wee bit of extra time to hop on a podcast that they listen to, or go and do a public speaking event somewhere to actually reach the people that you feel like this book needs to reach.
And we're already in conversations to get it converted into loads of languages as well. That's another thing that I just never thought of.
Exciting.
Yeah.
So, what do you have to say to the people who listen to this podcast every single episode, some of them multiple times?
Yep. And there is hundreds, thousands of people that don't miss an episode, and they've been really dedicated listeners, really dedicated followers to the podcast. Probably a massive thank you to everybody, because without all the comments that we get, and we do read them, as you know, we both read them, and every comment we get gives us a wee boost to keep going.
Yeah.
And we've done over 30 episodes. It's been an amazing journey, and hopefully we'll be back soon with more exciting content. But for now, we're going to focus on the book.
So, we always look for the lean lesson in everything. So what is the lean principle behind stopping this podcast?
I think the big lesson here is that it's not a podcast about lean. It's a lean podcast. And the difference is massive. If it was a podcast about lean, we would just talk about lean and move on. It's a lean podcast, therefore we need to live by lean principles. And something that I'm very wary of, and I don't want to happen, is for us to overproduce. So overproducing is obviously, it's one of the wastes of lean, making more than the customer than is required. So I would encourage every single person that follows the podcast to take this opportunity while there's a small pause or a break to go back on old podcasts and review them again, because it took us 10 years, to gather up all the learnings, package it all together into a way that people can listen to. And there is no way, and I don't believe there's anybody that has implemented every single piece of information. It took us 10 years to do it, and the podcast has only been out for a year. So I would strongly advise people to go back, just start at the start and take them all one by one again and go right through, and you'll get a wee nugget of information. You'll hear something that you didn't hear the first or second time, and that could be the wee spark that you need just to boost your lean journey. So that would be my recommendation, is to go back on the older ones and revisit them.
Yeah. You'll also see the evolution of content and the evolution of you and the evolution of me.
Yeah.
And that's pretty inspiring. Like, I love, like, obviously I breathe podcasts. It's always inspiring for me to go back and look at earlier episodes where, like, everyone's dead awkward and, it's not the same. And so that's encouraging as well, because a lot of things that you talk about is, leaders developing themselves, leaders developing the people around them, becoming better communicators, being more confident. Yeah. And it's crazy that it's only been a year. Like, when you said a year, like, Daniel and I were chatting recently, we were driving somewhere, like, flip, this time last year, we were, like, nearly on our way to the Lean Summit, which is when we launched the podcast.
Yeah.
And so it's exciting to see the journey in just a short space of time, and the impact that the podcast has had on all of your content. And we were looking at the analytics before. Everything's just going up. Everything's going big. And I respect you a lot as a leader, because taking that pause to focus on the book will only make you more powerful when you come back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'll consolidate your learnings, every single thing that you're doing for the book, every single podcast interview you're doing, these 12 steps to building a vibrant lean culture. You're just sharpening your sword.
Yeah.
And so, when the podcast comes back, it'll come back with even more energy, even more sharpness. And we talk about value per second, but it'll go through the roof.
Yep. And I think there's another big learning as well, which we chatted about earlier. The fact that I have to put my ideas together to prepare for a podcast actually consolidates the learning for me. It allows me to internalize the learning. So the lesson here is that for all the lean leaders listening to this, go out and talk about lean. Go and put yourself out there and stand up at a morning meeting and do a learning on a certain topic, because as you talk and as you teach, you internalize it more yourself.
Yeah.
So I have never understood lean at a deeper level than I have this past year, because I'm being forced to prepare and really deeply think about the message, and the process of creating the content has really helped to boost our lean journey. So it's like this flywheel effect.
Yeah, big time. And I think that's what a lot of leaders experience. I think this is kind of what leadership is. It's you go out there and you set a vision, and then you have to hold yourself accountable to the vision that you set.
Yep.
So you are forced to level up. Your standard has to rise all the time, because otherwise you're just a hypocrite. Yeah. Like, imagine we did an episode on, Kanban system. One of our most viewed podcast ever, how to solve your inventory problems forever.
Yeah. That's
all about Kanban. By the way, as a side note, I would not expect that a podcast episode about Kanban would get 10,000 views. It's the most niche thing ever. Like, we had Scott here, who's on Work Experience. He was scrolling through the channel and, doesn't have an interest in factories or manufacture at all. He doesn't care about that video in the slightest, but it shows you the demand for this sort of specific education around the world and real problems that people have. But when we made that episode, it sent you into like a fury and a flurry to go back, and we're going to make our Kanban systems even better. We're going to implement this, and we're going to put together a bundle that people can buy online, so they can get all the Kanban labels and all this sort of lean visual management stuff. So it's interesting how by you kind of taking the step forward, it makes everything better. Or one of my favorite quotes about entrepreneurship is like, and you could replace this word for leadership. It's like, entrepreneurship is jumping off a cliff and building a parachute on the way down. And I feel like leadership is a wee bit like that, where the leader has the vision, says, we're going to go here. And you're like, how the flip am I going to get there?
Yeah.
And then it forces you to level up so that you and your people can actually get there.
That's right. I think that famous quote, jump and the net will appear.
I've never heard that.
Yeah. And the other thing that we're focusing on over the next few months as well is that we're absolutely changing the factory as well. We've loads of big changes coming. So I'm going to be focusing on that as well, which again gives us more content for when we come back. There's loads of things. We're doing big lathe changes with new machines coming. We're introducing robotics to the factory for the first time ever. So there's loads and loads of learnings that are going to happen over the next couple of months that I'll be able to come back and share with everybody. So I'm really excited about that as well. Lean Made Simple is obviously getting bigger by the day, by the week. And one of the things that we do want to do is, online training, online content has been something that we're being asked for. Like not everybody can fly to our factory in Limavady, but we're being asked all the time for content that people can log in and follow a course. So that's something we're looking at as well.
Yeah, like a way where people can actually learn and be coached at their Gamba.
Yeah.
Where they can actually start to implement lean, like step by step. Not like a university where it's just theory, but like a trade school where it's like application, 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 action. The same way you wrote the book.
Yep.
Like a multimedia version of the book, basically. So,
that's right.
Yeah, if anyone's interested in that, like let us know, because you know us. There's no push. It's always pull. We just look and see where the demand is and can we serve people and help people in this way. And the other thing that we're really looking to do is we really want to scale Lean Made Simple as a brand. We really want to double down on our content. We think content's the future. And so if you know someone that is like the smartest person that you've ever met in your life, specifically whenever it comes to YouTube, specifically whenever it comes to making content online, social media, all that sort of space, we are really interested in growing the team. And so if you, as part of the Lean community, can recommend someone to us, we would love to have a conversation with them and see if we could partner with someone to kind of take this content to reach even more people. Because if 10,000 people are listening to an episode about Kanban, we just feel like on our end, there's so much more we could be doing to solve more problems, to reach more people, and to spread this movement around the world. Because, I mean, Ryan says it every single episode. It's changed his life. It's changed my life. And we would like to kind of keep spreading that. But we're not professional YouTubers. We don't understand all this sort of stuff. But there's amazing people out there who do. And, well, one of the leanest things you could possibly do is actually partner with someone or work with someone instead of trying to do it yourself. So genuinely, at this kind of little stop the line moment, we would just love to say like a big, big thank you to every single person who's listened to the podcast, shared the podcast, left a comment on the episode. You know, you guys listen in the car, you listen whenever you're walking the dog, you listen on the Gamba, and, you know, the show exists because of you and for you. And so we really, really appreciate you supporting it so much and letting us know that you enjoy it. And this book here, like, thank you so much for how you've embraced this book and you've embraced Ryan. Like, the support's been phenomenal. And it's amazing, especially at the very first few days when the book launched, it's like you knew all the names that were buying the book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like all the lean legends, all the people you see in the comments just like supporting. And I mean, that must have been a good feeling for you.
It was, absolutely was, yeah. Because a lot of people have been asking about the book because I think we've mentioned it a few times on the podcast. And I'm always saying, yeah, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And then when it's finally here, there's this burst of energy. And it's continuing to go. And a lot of companies are actually buying one for their entire team. We're finding that as well. They're buying one and handing them around and doing book clubs. They're working through it chapter by chapter, week by week, which is really interesting because that's really what the book is designed to be. It's designed to be a workbook that people can work through with their team. And it's doing exactly what it was supposed to do. And
So
we're
good.
really grateful.
So yeah, get a hold of the book, go through it, and then we will be in a very strong position to answer all the questions and the next things that emerge once someone's gone through all of this. And who knows, that could appear on a podcast episode in the near future. Brilliant. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.